Starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. Go. 3 points of setup. Firstly, is that we think individuals should actively discard the influence of one's beauty or attractiveness when they are judging someone. So that this looks like not caring for how someone looks in the interview, or how they shape their body, or like how much they weigh, or that it's like looking up to the general beauty standard itself. So on the status quo, it is apparent that there are massive influences on people's actions if they look conveniently attractive, and tend to help them more than an average person. That they will probably like look up more to these people who are considered beautiful to them. That we want to actually shift away from these kinds of thoughts, like people like valuing beauty more over like personality and whatsoever. Like second of all, that we want to talk about the assessments, that it could be centered around a myriad of things, like for example employees hiring future employers hiring future employees, like for example like hiring reporters to look through these forms of like weight or even their body shape or whatever, like you making friends with new people, like assessing judgment based on someone's personality or whatsoever. And like on proposition, we will probably center our judgment based on that, on someone's personality, like their social cue more, that mainly their merits and how their performance is doing during, for example, if you're working. I think this is like a fair like parameter for our side. And the third of all is like on preemptives, that opposition cannot claim that beauty is important to assess because of people like evil people, because they tend to look like evil or look bad. That this does not make sense at all. Like first, like people have survival instincts of like obviously, and that second of all is that it's abhorrent for opposition to stigmatize people based on like of their looks. And third of all is that beautiful people could be evil too. Like for example, like they're making cult of personality over how they are like beautiful, and that how they can get away with things because they look beautiful and whatsoever. So now like onto our argument, we have two arguments. Firstly is that why assessment should be objective and pretty privileges are harmful, and second also why it's better for minorities. So like first argument, why it is the assessment should be objective and pretty privileges harms this. Like we want to like to say that beauty itself is a subjective. Like all right, that's like the true things. That it means like that beauty itself is not something that you should use as a scale, or like beauty itself is not something that you should use as a way to like weigh someone for being like good or bad or whatsoever. That we say that you should not be using beauty to be the center of your assessment to judge people. Like this is important so far as like for example like what we think of someone's beautiful. Like I will probably like think it's different with what they think. That this is like saying that beauty itself is subjective and it's different among different people. So it's like you should not like base people like when you're hiring someone. It's not based on like how they look or like how they are beautiful or whatever. Like this is like a very bad thing. There's three things that's harmful about this. Like trying to make people like beautiful, or like show like focusing on their beauty more, or like giving privileges to people because they're beautiful. Like firstly, that it shifts your attention away from their merit, that they focus on how they look instead. Like this is the why people boast for example, like in school or in like environment where there are like lots of people like your acquaintances or whatever, like they will rank people based on like how handsome or pretty they are. Like this is like a very bad thing. Like this like creates a form of like a cult of personality, like based on how beautiful they are, and this is like very much harmful because it like overrides all their flaws, like trying to override their flaws because like well they're pretty and they're beautiful. So like there's like two problems with this. That firstly is that most people who are able to like the problem with like this judgment on beauty is that firstly is that most people who are able to afford expensive skincare treatments are of course rich people, that they are always will be on the top. So that means like the rich people will always be top of this social strata, like this constructive social strata, because you're judging people based on beauty, not like based on like on merit and whatsoever. Like you blow those people who cannot afford these forms of like changes into your, or like modification to your body, or even like makeups and whatsoever. These people will always be the down. Like these people like could be like impoverished people who cannot afford these kind of things. And second of all, that you care less about the merit and personality, as I mentioned before, which we argue is the most important metric. Like for example, like in jobs or whatsoever, merit is the most important thing. Like what you are able to do is like the most important thing. And that we think that when you actually put the center of your judgment on how beautiful someone is, then it becomes like a habit and an objectify them, like it's like an objective score on how you rate everyone else. That's very wrong. This means your top priority will always be like about someone's look, let's say embedded in your head, and that this is like some sort of nature that will never be able to be like you cannot break away or something. Second of all is that how it's unfair because like for example no one's like born the same, like no one's like born perfect. Like I am like kind of fat in here or something like here, like someone who will have like a chiseled jawline, or this is very much taller. This is just based on biological issues. Like this is just based on your own biology or whatsoever. So not everyone could have the same like beauty standards or even beautiful feature that these people claim is very much important. Like this is not always the case. That this will not always be the thing that will happen. That means like you're not born equal to the beauty standards and whatsoever. Like you'll never be worth it because like you're seen as someone who does not have the same beauty, like you're not comply with the beauty standard, like your face or like your body does not comply with that. That's just very much wrong. Like because your worth is now based on that. Like now like you're born, like you're trying to say that you're born unlucky or that you're just very much bad, like you're just bad and you cannot prove yourself. Basically say like on birth that you are worthless on side opposition's case. If you're basing someone based on beauty, like in cases of like how you're like on job interviews and whatsoever, or like trying to make acquaintances with people, that is just very wrong. Third of all is that it harms yourself when you focus too much on beauty. Like you want to focus that when you focus so much on other people's beauty, like, you also think about whether or not you fit with with their standards or whatsoever. Like you become like more self-aware and whatsoever. Like you focus too much time on how you look. Like, do I look pretty? Am I like better than her, like better than him, whatsoever? Like you focus too much time on that. Like you become more stressed out and worried if you fit other people's assessment and their own definition of beauty, even though like we said before that beauty itself is subjective. This is very wrong. Like, you're forcing yourself or like other people when you're judging people based on this instead of other things like personality and merit, that you're making them like more, they have to focus more on their on your face or like your physical appearances. Like you're probably going to go around and just buy this product and buy that product, try to make yourself more beautiful, like that, get liposuction or just buy or get this forms of body modification. Like, this is just harmful. Like you're making them people like waste the money with something that's not even important whatsoever. Like because you think that this thing is very much important in this case because you're judging people based on beauty instead of personal merit and whatsoever. So like why is our assessment better that when we're focusing more on personality instead of beauty? Like we have two reasons why. First is that we will opt in to judge others based on a variety of parameters instead of something that is, like based on luck or on feature and whatsoever. Like it's a very common parameter that people use it as merit and personality, and we think that is just fine. Because this is what matters on the long run. Like merit is more important than how you look, because that defines about how you work, how you actually function and actually help people, not based on how you look and whatsoever. The second of all is that this bit fairer when you like use merit based on assessment. Like you're more fairer. Like this is like forms of equal treatment. Like you don't treat others like others not because of their merit. Like when you treat others not based on their merit and more on their beauty. Like for example, like rich people who are able to get these forms of skincare products and also this life or all this body modification. This is not fair. Like you're going to treat them more better than the others. That's just wrong. Now moving on to our second argument, how this is better for minorities. Now this is the case because the modern beauty standards is now based on Western like perceptions or culture. And why is this the case? Because there's two reasons why. Firstly, because of colonialism, and second of all is because of globalization and like the domination of Western ideals or perceptions in the world by commodifying through medias and beauty corporations. Like this is like wrong because there's this like African American minorities, Asian or Latinos are immediately assessed as not worth it, and it does not matter that we have different subsectors for minorities because on our side we are better treating these people who are minorities because we give them a chance to prove themselves. They are more than just the stereotypes on the people's head. Like for example, not based on their looks. We are proud to propose.
The proposition side of the house mainly talk about physical beauty, but panels. Beauty can be defined with anything, and it is certainly had different meaning for everyone. Beauty not always mean physical beauty or attractiveness or anything, but can be defined if someone is in a good condition or in a clean appearance. But panels, beauty is also something that is very beneficial for us. Every individuals want to appear in the best appearance in front of everyone. If we were to be in some occurrences that needs us to appear in our best way, of course it will be very important. For example, in a job interview, you don't want to look bad and give a bad impression to the people who will hire you, right? So that's why beauty is very important to everyone. Panels, many people had shown how simple self-care to make our beauty shines the most could actually give such a big difference. It doesn't always have to mean following beauty trends and shaming others for didn't, or putting people down for not trying to be beautiful or taking care of themselves. Because panels, beauty is not only defined by appearance, as I have stated before. But beauty can also be defined from mannerisms, mindsets, actions, and so on. Panels, inner beauty is also something important to us. If we have pretty face, a good appearance, or wrapped in proper clothes, have good skincare routines, but our behavior and mannerisms are bad, that would be not beneficial for us either. If we took from the same example as what I have said before, people could also have bad or even worse impressions if we don't show a good manner. If we lack of inner beauty, people could still judge us from our lack of mannerisms. Panels, beauty is still a very important thing for us in many ways, in daily life, and in many examples. People can choose to judge us from many spectrum of beauty, and that's why we, from the opposition side of the house, are proud to oppose.
I guess the opposition side of the House did not listen to the whole 8-minute speech that was given by my Prime Minister, because clearly beauty means it's a physical appearance. It's something that you can literally see. How are you supposed to judge someone's beauty based on the first time you meet? That is so... It did not, like, it was a logical fallacy coming from side opposition. They also talked about how they want to embrace, like, oh, inner beauty, they love inner beauty, but they also want to emphasize how, like, how beauty on the outside, how you want to look clean, is also important. So exactly what is your stance, side opposition? You need to prove to us that. So they talked about how, like, beauty is more, like, people are more, like, even if they talk about, like, how beauty is more progressive, how people are more open-minded, this is not true. Even if the makeup industry cares more about inclusivity, for example, or how the modeling industry is showing, like, a more diverse body types, or they are, like, being much more inclusive compared to the past. First, we said that they are using this as gestures, just to get to the attention of the audience, to not get canceled for not giving a wide shade range, for example, or to not get canceled for, like, not including any, like, a more diverse body type in their runway shows, for example, for models. Fat phobia still exists in, like, these modeling industry. But secondly, it is something that is entrenched in society. It's something that everyone is already, like, they already have this mindset, right? So even if they say that, oh, people are more progressive, that is not the case. They can literally simply act like they accept, like, people who don't fit the beauty standard, but inside of them they still know that, oh, that this person is not like according to the beauty standard, and it's like people still make fun of these people even on social media. We still see memes about like how their fat friend is acting. Those kind of things still exist in the status quo, and we believe this is what the opposition side is standing for. So firstly, why the attainment of beauty is highly inaccessible. You cannot change the way you look no matter you like it or not. The centralization that is deeply entrenched in society is alienating individuals who don't fit the beauty standards. First, no one chooses to have acne. I never choose to get acne. I get told by my parents every day to wash my face. I get told by my friends to wash my face, try this skincare brand whatsoever. I've literally tried everything to get rid of my acne, but it still won't work because there's literally no way of changing it. That's just who I am. That's just how I was born with. But secondly, no one also chooses to have like a certain beauty body type, right? No one chooses to be fat. I get alienated by my friends at school because they think that it's undesirable or not aesthetically pleasing to post on TikTok, for example. It's all I hear from my parents when they see me eat, even though I literally starved myself the whole day just so I can deserve my calories at the end of the day. This might sound cliche to you panels, but the impact is deeply traumatizing for these individuals. First, you are hyper aware about the way you look 24/7. Like this is incredibly harming for like teenagers, how they are still at that very young age, but they are so aware about how they look. You are scared of meeting a person offline for the first time because you're scared of not like fitting into their expectation of how you look, because that's not how you look on social media, for example. You're scared of meeting people because you're scared like, oh, they will just see me as fat and not just like not take like my abilities or like my skills into considerations. It's all I think about when I leave my house. It's all I can think about when I'm about to have lunch with my friends, for example. I'm afraid of what they will think of me, how they will like change their mindset towards me. So the impact of this, like we have seen in the status quo, like so many teens, like even on TikTok, people literally post about taking Ozempic just so they can stay skinny, right? Just so they can fit into the beauty standard. This is incredibly harmful for their health and so many other reasons. But secondly, people literally do dangerous cosmetic surgeries. Like for example, they do this bariatric surgery or like liposuction just so they can fit into the beauty standard. And thirdly, people spend millions of rupiah just so they can buy like a skincare product, just so they can buy makeup products to make them look better. But the reality is, no matter how much they use, how much makeup they use, it can never change the shape of their nose. Even if they like buy skincare product, it's never going to make their skin go from dark to white the way they wanted it to be. So what do we have on our side? Comparatively in our side, the world that comparatively on our side, we focus more on people's personality. We focus more on people's skills, their abilities. For example, I don't focus more about her curly hair. I focus more about her ability to debate. And the world that the opposition side wants to keep is one where we don't value people based on their skills. But secondly, why this becomes an unattainable beauty standard, pursuit towards the beauty standards. Individuals would want to do plastic surgeries to change themselves, to fit into the beauty standards. So why is this so bad? Because the dangers of the surgery itself. So for example, like bariatric surgery, right? Like you literally cut off like a part of your stomach. That is incredibly dangerous. Also like the surgery complication that might come when you are doing these plastic surgeries. But secondly, you lose a sense of yourself. You should be allowed to be yourself. Just because society pressures you doesn't mean that you need to change. You are literally changing something like that is so important about yourself. You're changing the way you look. That is literally like these features that are literally given by your parents, that it's literally like something that has always existed with you ever since you were young, but you are changing it just because you want this boy to like you. We don't agree with that. You cannot say that they are doing it just for themselves, because this is rooted from the centralization of beauty. It's rooted from the fact that beauty standard is so heavily emphasized and deeply entrenched in society. And lastly, what is the impact of this? It's a never-ending cycle. You get a nose job, for example, but you're still not fulfilled. And then you end up getting like a lip injection, and then and then you end up getting like a BBL or something, you will never like feel fulfilled with yourself, because you always want to like follow like a certain influencer. You still want to follow like the unattainable pursuit to this beauty standard. So who will this harm the most? First, this will harm minorities. Beauty standard is heavily emphasized based on white people, right? So, for example, when we see like commercials, they always, especially in Indonesia, right, where people still like emphasize about like white skin whatsoever. It's deeply, it will harm these individuals who are not able to change a thing about themselves. And secondly, it harms the poor individuals, the one that cannot buy these like fancy skincare products because like they are insecure because like their classmates judge them for having like acne, right? But they cannot buy those like expensive skincare products because they have to literally pay for like they literally have to pay for their foods tomorrows or something. And it's deeply harmful when like these teenagers, right, they're still young, they're so affected by this beauty standard, they end up like not prioritizing their health, they're not prioritizing the things that they should be, and they like buy these skincares that should not be that they're prioritized, just so they can like fit into the standard that people around them has set. We are so proud to propose.
All right, panels. So before I begin, I would like to respond on the proposition side of the tea. First of all, they said that beauty is something physical, and then they said that beauty is something subjective, and that beauty is something that you see, which is, we still stand on that. On our definition of beauty is something, is the, for example, is manners, behaviors, and also tidiness and cleanliness. That is something that everyone can change. Everyone has a chance to change. They can change their manners, they can change their behaviors, they can change their tidiness, their cleanliness, and that is, of course, something that is accessible for everyone without needing to do expensive plastic surgeries or buying skincare products. And that is something, by seeing this sort of these kinds of beauties, we can already tell that this person have a self-respect of have a respect of their own lives, that even if you have acne, but if you have acne but you have good manners, you have good behaviors, you are tidy, you are clean, then of course you will still look beautiful in other people's eyes, which is why we still believe that our definition of beauty should actively be the center of influence of other people assessing other people, because we believe that those kinds of beauties, those manners, the behaviors, is the main part of a person, the main thing that of course can be seen by other people. Of course, politeness, saying thank you, saying sorry, maybe even eating without making too much noise, without spitting on your table or spitting out your food on your plate. That is the manners that we are talking about. And of course, that is someone who is have a self-respect, who is not bothering others, who are a good person in society, which can be the main or the center part that can affect other people's assessment on these people, their beauty, their manners, their cleanliness, their tidiness, their behaviors. Which the impact of applying this would make that people having having a need to increase their mannerism, to better their behaviors, to be more tidy, to be more clean, to be a better in a sort of other ways that is not physically on their sort of shape or shape of face, their acnes, and their clothes. Of course, clothes they do not need to be expensive to look good. They can cheap clothes can even look good. Cheap clothes, it is all again, clothes and beauties are subjective. Some people might like darker skins, some people might like white skins. Now we can embrace our existing beauty. If we have darker skin, we can embrace that kind of beauty. We can we do not have to change ourselves in an extreme kind of way to just have a better physical beauty, which is why we are fully opposing on that individuals should actively decenter the influence of beauty affecting their assessment on other people. Thank you.
A person once said that I should wear red lipstick to reflect the beauty inside of me. I question what is that beauty that he sees of me, and I question what is the definition of beauty and why does red lipstick reflect that. So first of all, responses to the opposition side of the house, because I think they lack the understanding on our stance and our definition that we have clearly described on our first speaker's speech on what is beauty itself in this debate that they should follow in our framing. So beauty, as we said before, is on what we see firstly on the appearance of these people, and if they don't want to comply to that and say that it's inner beauty, it's the mannerism, I think that means you guys are fully supporting our side of the house on how beauty is reflected by actions and whatsoever. Secondly, I don't think you guys actually contextualize what beauty is seen on your side of the house, and it's very vague and it's very not progressing onto like the debate. Okay, so two clashes, firstly on the minorities and secondly on stereotypes. Okay, so we say that we think that a world with personality as a metric is better in terms of objectivity. And they said that they side with they think appearances or beauty appearances is needed for like niche situations such as job interviews or whatsoever. I think that is mitigated, right? Because these job interviews obviously are formal events on why they set a uniform or standard, right? Because these job interviews, they try to mitigate like the subjectivity to base people based on their appearances. But the reality is, even with that standard of like uniforms and standard formal wear, where beauty standards still exist, what is seen as neat that is not clearly contextualized in the opposition speech is still subjective itself. For example, what is seen as neat? Is it a person with like no tattoos, or is it a person with like straight hair? It's still subjective itself, and it shouldn't be a main metric, especially in assessing a person. Firstly, it's the personality on how they present themselves through their actions, through their words, and through how kind they are to other people and whatsoever. And I think this is very good in terms of like when you're trying to build relations with that person, or to like mitigate that like judgmental ideals, especially in the status quo. So how is this very difficult for minorities? We think we're going to categorize minorities not just based on like people in low income, which they have like difficulty to purchase very high-end products to fix their looks, but we think it's also people with unique appearances, for example, like me with my curly hair. And lastly, I think it's also for people who are like non-able-bodied people, because it's very hard to assess how they look, especially when they are like, for example, in like other circumstances. So it's very difficult for them to like, first of all, as I said, get jobs, for example, for like, because they need to comply with like the beauty standards that has been socially constructed by the people, because of my first speaker has said on how this is usually following the colonialism, and like it's more to like how they have fair skin or whatsoever, they have straight hair, and it's just the majority, and people who do not follow that, it's just very difficult for them to actually navigate the real world and be separated from like very harsh judgment, because they are seen to like stereotypes of like they're rude or whatsoever. I think that our side of the house has proven to you on how we can actually help these vulnerable actors who may not look like the majority, who may not have the beauty appearances, on how, for example, they're skinny, or for example, they have straight hair, straight black hair, which I obviously do not have. So because of these vulnerable actors, it's very hard for them to live, right? So we told them, we should decentralize that assessing people based on their appearances themselves, to make sure that we can see them on personality. So when job interviews come, we can see them based on like their hard work. We can see them on how they can present themselves. For example, they're confident, and we think that's very good for the company, and that should be like the main metric in case of like assessing people for themselves. Secondly, on stereotypes. So they said that this is like based on the manners, behaviors reflecting your beauty, but we think that's not the case, because again, lack of contextualizing, and I think it's just very bad in the terms of like you're setting expectations on people based on how they look like, right? So I would like to continue what I just said, is that first, I believe that these stereotypes, it harms these future generations, especially by setting a very high standard in beauty. So firstly, we can see the status quo on how little kids, 10-year-olds, they go to Sephora, they purchase retinol, which is very bad for their skin, right? Because they do not want to look old, because people think that have one wrinkle on your forehead means that you're old and you're unapproachable and you're weird, and you're like gonna be excluded from your friend group. And I think this harms society as a whole, because why they divide themselves into aesthetic, because they want to group themselves on what is seen as beautiful, right? Because then they could like follow themselves. For example, if you're a clean aesthetic, or like you're a grunge, and like clean aesthetic means like you don't have acne, it just classifies people into a group on what is seen as beautiful. And I think that's very harmful, because people would try to fit into that groups, and they like obviously cannot, because they cannot choose on how they look, they cannot choose on how where they are born, and like their financial incomes and whatsoever. Secondly, I think society is making more standards as we go, because of these assessing people based on their beauty themselves, and they make groups to fit in. This is why we have TikTok making very various kinds of aesthetics, or cores, whatever they call it, so people can identify or be perceived as beautiful. So when people say like, oh, you have curly hair, then you're like what, summer aesthetic, I don't know, because like it's not changeable, right? They think that these beauty standards are like decor character, but actually not, because what is beautiful, or whatever it is, it's how we see your personality, and we think personality is much more better than fixing on how your physical appearance is. And thirdly, we think because of the rise of beauty standards, there's no more people actually fixing their personality or actually socializing, because they care more about how they look instead of like their personality, and it's undermined. That's why we have people saying that, oh, she doesn't act how she looks. What does that mean? I don't get like that saying on how she doesn't act how she looks, just because, for example, she has fairer skin, so they already set an expectation that you're like from higher class because you take care of like how you look, and because of that expectation, it just undermines themselves and like the true person they are, without being separated from how they look. And this harms people in the long run. For example, if like beautiful people, whoever people that fits the beauty standards, if they do something wrong, and it's just very harmful for them, because then they're going to be perceived as a very rude person, and they should not be approached. And secondly, I think beauty appearance, when you say that like beauty appearances can be changed, right, to meet the beauty standards, I think this loses something about you. Like, so for example, I changed my hair, I straightened my hair, I think I put on very red lipstick, I don't know. I don't feel like myself, right? Because I want to comply on what is beautiful. But then I don't know what the definition of beautiful itself. And I don't, like, I lose something about myself because I want to meet this beautiful standard. Oh, and I'm not undermining any people who would like to do plastic surgery, for example, because then that's tackling the fight of like dysphoria and dysmorphia. Whatever makes you beautiful, I think it's more on like personality. And you lose. Secondly, I think it loses something when you change yourself to beauty standards. I think it loses something to your culture or origin. For example, people who are like Batak, they have a strong jaw, and they're automatically seen as mean and rude, right? And this is it's very stereotypical, and it judges people in that minority group, and they like become more insecure on themselves. So I think in the terms of like scale and vulnerability, we have helped more actors than the opposition has done. And we believe that this ideals on assessing people based on their appearances is just very harmful in the long run, especially for future generations who follow this. We're so proud to propose.
panels, what the opposition side of the house mean by saying beauty is not like fitting to a beauty standard. What we meant by that is like we just be like who we actually are, but with the best version of us. For example, like clean, tidy, or we have a good manner, or we behave good, and yeah, we have a good behavior and stuff like that, ladies and gentlemen. So the government side of the house stated that people cannot choose to have certain body type or certain skin color or certain skin type or a certain type of hair. And yeah, we do agree about that. People cannot do that. Yes, that's not what we meant by saying beauty in this debate. This debate, what we meant isn't whether someone is having a fair and pale skin in Asian or tan skin in the Western society. What we meant is how people can take care of their body. People can take care of their body. People can eat healthier, and all of this can actually be done by everyone, regardless their economy. Even the lower class people, they can still take care of their body, they can still eat healthy and other stuff like that. So it's not limited to those who are rich, those who are in a high level of economy state and something like that. It's not like that, ladies and gentlemen. Also, we believe that as a opposition side of the house, we don't support this motion. It's because we think that narrative that, oh, it's fine to be messy, or it's fine if we don't have to try to look tidy, or we have to try to clean our body, because it's fine to not do that, will exist and will be glorified, because many people also dress well and take care of their body because they want to look good, so that people can see them as a good or as a professional or as a full of prepared person. We don't say that, we don't generalizing this to everyone. We exactly know that not everyone want to dress well or want to clean their body just because of how other people will perceive them. It's also because they want to do that. Yes, we do know about that, but we believe that in many cases it do be like that, ladies and gentlemen. And this motivation that they want to clean they want to eat healthy, or they want to clean their body, or they want to look tidy, so that people can perceive them as a professional. This motivation will lead them to more take care of their body, to eat healthier, and it's obviously a good thing to do for their physique and mental being, ladies and gentlemen. So we believe that government side of the house perceive this beauty as only just an appearance. We believe that it's a very narrow definition, because we have to perceive beauty as an overall, not just appearance, but also appearance and inner beauty. For example, like manners and behaviors, ladies and gentlemen. Appearance shows if someone is prepared to do something or not, and that's what we meant by saying someone is beauty or not. If someone is trying to respect someone or not, you don't want to go to a meeting with flip-flop and short, ladies and gentlemen, or even they try to respect themselves or not, like they try to take care of their body, they love their body or not, by eating healthy and clean their body regularly and take care of their personal hygiene, but it's most likely not to happen under their side of the house. Yes.
You talk about how like people should take care of their body, but what about like people who have health problems that cause them to look different and can't take care of their bodies?
Okay, what we meant by taking care of their body, even if someone is disabled, for example, it's still fine. They can take care of their body by cleaning themselves, having someone to clean themselves. They just have to look clean. They just have to look clean, and that's the most important thing. It's not about whether this person is perfect or not. It's not like that, ladies and gentlemen. So yeah, we believe that people would try their best to look good, to clean their body and stuff like that. It's most likely not to happen under their side of the house. In a world where there is no influence of beauty in assessing towards other people, yes, we know that not everyone is dressed for other people, as I've stated before. We don't want people, under their world that there is no influence of beauty and assessing towards other people, we don't want people to be demotivated to take care of themselves. We don't want people to have no effort to improve their manners, to improve their behaviors, to learn how to have a good manner and good behaviors, or try to try to be tidy or taking care of their personal hygiene and stuff like that, we believe that this thing won't happen under site government. And that is why we're so proud to oppose. Thank you.
All right, panels. So what have our team has been saying this whole time? Now, in our side of the house, our definition of beauty is something that, first of all, we said that it was inner beauty, that it was their mindset, it's their mannerism, their behaviors, and then the proposition said that beauty is something that can be seen. Okay, well then it is the manners, it is the behaviors, it is the tidiness, is the cleanliness, and those are of course parts that is showing to everyone in the world. That is something that can be used to tell if someone have a self-respect on themselves, if they are a healthy person, if they take care of themselves, if they are a good person. And as the first speaker has said, beauty is also something that is needed for some specific steps such as modeling, job interviews. Of course, you would want to look good. You want to have a good impression when you are interviewing for a new job. You want, of course, models needs to show off the clothes, which is of course still you need tidiness and cleanliness for that. And of course, why we oppose the decentralization of beauty is that beauty is something that is seen, that is the first thing that is seen by everyone. It is something, the first indication of what a person can be, of what the person is doing with their lives. If someone is, again, in our definition of beauty is not good, doesn't have good mannerism, doesn't have good behaviors, then of course we can judge them by being, oh, that person is, of course, that person might not be the best, or the living their best life, or they might not be in their healthiest time, or they might just not even have self-respect for themselves. Now, beauty in our side of the house is this does not need to be a facial shape or a face that is clean of acne. Of course, you can. That is something that you cannot control. But by having good mannerism, good attitude, good behaviors, those you can still look beautiful, even if you have those sort of I hate to say it, but imperfection that can be seen in other people's eyes, which is why we are fully opposing today's motion. Thank you.
I will prove to you three things, panels, in my reply speech. First, what we have proved on side proposition and what the opposition proved. Second, what they failed to engage with and never proved. And lastly, in the end, why do we win this round? Firstly, we proved why beauty standard is so inaccessible. And second, why this leads to unattainable pursuit, whereas they proved how people have they talked about how people have a diverse perspective on beauty and basically why people should be more tidy. They never engaged with the idea idea of how deeply traumatizing the beauty standard actually is for individuals because they didn't win the birth lottery. Second, they never engaged with the idea of white image that already exists in the society, how people rave about how people who are privileged, how they are the most beautiful. They never even engaged with that. They never even engaged with the idea of the impact on the most vulnerable actors. By this alone, we should already win the debate. But secondly, based on the value itself, we win this claim. We don't uphold a standard that deeply traumatizes individuals, that literally impacts individuals' life, like literally makes them lose their prioritization because they want to fit into the beauty standards. They were unresponsive about this claim. They never even explained how they will even mitigate the harms that happens to these individuals they lose. But thirdly, they talked about how beauty is like about mannerism, right? They kept on emphasizing about that. But I believe it was already but I believe that this is literally what the proposition side is literally standing for, because mannerism is not something that you can see, and beauty standard literally means that something, it's about physical appearance. They never even, the definition of beauty standard itself means physical appearance, like their beauty, a physical appearance that is beautiful, right? So we believe that they completely misread and misdefined the motion. But fourthly, they talked about how you have to be clean on interviews, how they want people to keep their appearance whatsoever. But I believe this was already responded by my previous speaker. Obviously, people have the rational capacity to not wear a pajama to a job interview. Obviously, people still maintain a formal wear. But what we don't agree with in our side is the way that beauty standards, in working in a corporation or working in when you're working in a corporation, for example, what we don't agree with is when they have this qualification, you have to be at least 5'4", or you have to at least be 5'6". That is what we don't agree with. So lastly, they talked about how it's an indication when you see someone. Exactly why that it's so harmful, why beauty standard is so harmful, because it becomes the indication when you meet someone. That is not what defines them as a person. We believe that the opposition side is standing for a world where we judge people based on how they look, based on something that can never change, based on their true identity, and we don't stand with that. We believe that on side proposition, we were able to prove to you how harmful that actually is, and how important the prioritization of skills and personality actually is. With all that, so proud to propose.